Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're doing something a little bit different than our normal video.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Ty.
And we're giving you each of our own top 5 best PS4 games.
Whose list do you think is the best? Have you played any of these games yourself? Debate with us down in the comments below, but do it in a civil manner, please.
And let us know which other topics you'd like to see us debate in the future. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. My number 5, Inside. Playdead's first game Limbo became one of the poster games for Xbox Live Arcade back in the day. But it is in its follow-up that the team managed to create a masterpiece of dystopian horror and mystery that is still difficult to categorize. Without a single spoken word, the story of a young boy traversing an industrialized world gives way to a mystery far deeper and more disturbing than it appears on the surface. The mechanics might not be groundbreaking or deviate too much from what Playdead established with Limbo, but the game's cleverly designed puzzles and nuanced, drip-fed story details and world building keep me coming back to play this game at least once a year, and then immediately searching online to compare theories about what it all means. The fact that the meaning of Inside is still being debated 6 years later is a testament to its incredible world building.
My number 5, Drawn to Death.
Diablo Tijuana is crowding!
Like many of you, I love my shooters, more so when it's a boomer shooter that copies Doom, or an arena shooter with explosive weapons, environmental hazards, teleporters, secret passageways, and the like. Drawn to Death was the latter, and in my opinion, it got a lot of unfair flack. In a sea of hyper-realistic tactical military shooters, Drawn to Death was that breath of fresh air set in an angsty kid's notebook world. Basically, every part of me from high school. Pick from a handful of awesome characters with their own special abilities, give them a loadout with weapons like flaming dodgeballs, an American-made RPG, and go kick some ass. I was also fascinated in how the story was not told through the gameplay, well, in some cases like character interactions, but its trophies instead, adding a new way to interact with PlayStation's trophy system. Sure, there were problems with its convoluted progression system, let me tell you, that infuriated me, but Drawn to Death still managed to stand out to me years later. It just sucks that the servers have long been dead. Rest in peace, Drawn to Death.
You sons of bitches are all dead meat, which we proudly serve at Magic Mouse Burgers and Fun.
My number 4, Death Stranding. As Ty so eloquently described it in one of our ranking meetings, you either love or hate Death Stranding. I clearly fall into the former category. While I won't try to defend the game's nearly nonsensical story, which even its mastermind Hideo Kojima has attested to not fully understanding, there's no denying the creator had a singular vision when crafting the world of Death Stranding. Despite the game being a, quote, walking simulator in every sense of the phrase, its unique multiplayer-like system, in which players can help one another traverse the desolate world without ever interacting, filled me with a sense of accomplishment that few other multiplayer titles ever have. There are some absolutely ridiculous moments for sure.
Great. So I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach.
Like Mario and Princess Peach.
But cresting a mountain and seeing your destination in the distance while Low Roar's soundtrack slowly builds as you descend is a feeling that has yet to be duplicated.
My number 4, MediEvil.
It has risen again!
Sometimes I like it when a game is just a game, a simple video game. Give me a solid adventure, a unique premise and cast, and some basic combat. You don't always need to get too crazy with it. That's why I love the MediEvil remake even today. MediEvil doesn't hide any kind of nonsense from you. While the controls take some getting used to, MediEvil excels in the other checkboxes I had. Again, unique premise and cast, imaginative environments, diverse enemy design, simple combat. It's a game that's perfect for those who like a spooky and chill evening. Plus, if you 100% the game, you'll unlock the original MediEvil game so you can relive the 1998 classic or experience it all again for the first time ever. It's great. I love it.
Let it alone. Fate has given it a second chance.
My number 3, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Seems our friends have gone deaf. Wake them up a little!
Every video game wants the player to live in the world they've created, to feel as though they're a part of it, and live their day-to-day lives as though it was truly their own. While a few titles have managed this monstrous feat, few have executed it as well as Rockstar has with Red Dead Redemption 2. With one of the most compelling stories ever told in gaming, I quite literally lived this game for almost 3 months after it came out, taking every opportunity to explore and survive the Wild West with Arthur Morgan and the Vanderlyn gang. The amount of detail that went into every aspect of the game's world may never be reached again, and the Arthur that I played felt like my own, and all the choices I made as my Arthur made the experience feel more personal than even RPGs full of different choices.
My number 3, Everybody's Golf. I'm not one for sports games all that much unless it's one of Mario's many sports outings. But in my time with the PlayStation 4, Everybody's Golf is a sports game I will forever champion. To be honest, this game already had me given I am a casual golf fan. What I didn't expect was the amount of passion this game has for the sport in the most unexpected ways. Everybody's Golf takes its time to teach you almost everything about golf, the rules, the terminology, and so much more. The character customization is incredibly flexible. Nailing shots can increase your stats, and you can even take part in simple pleasures like driving around courses on a golf cart or even fishing, because you know, every single game has to have fishing. There are a lot of great ideas here in Everybody's Golf that other sports games really should be borrowing if they want to attract new audiences.
My number 2, The Last of Us Part 2. This is going to be the most contentious pick on my list.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed and get this over with?
But the story of The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the most confident in its vision in gaming and is one of the most mechanically solid video games ever made. Despite the story causing massive division amongst the fan base, I was fully engrossed in the story the writers set out to tell. It's not meant to be a fun experience. It's designed to show the faults of its characters and the never-ending cycle of violence that can stem from the pursuit of revenge. The original Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time, and Joel and Ellie will always be some of the most engaging characters in gaming, but the choice to switch to Abby's perspective halfway through helped give the player insight into the mirrored journey of both Ellie and Abby and the consequences of their anger.
My number 2, Ghost of Tsushima. By now, you've probably realized how my colleague has chosen mostly AAA games for his list versus my list of games which didn't make as big of a splash. I will admit that. I do play the big stuff too, though, and out of all of Sony's first-party titles, Ghost of Tsushima is the one that I would say is the closest to perfection. Originally, I was really worried about this game since we didn't really know anything about it until less than 2 months before launch. What we got was the ultimate samurai ninja experience with combat that boasted simplistic controls and incredible depth with the different stances and weaponry. I'm currently replaying it on my PlayStation 5, and it's even better than when I played it the first time. The pacing is perfect, the combat feels even more fast and fluid than before, and it features the cleanest and most beautiful UI I have ever seen in a game. Why this isn't on Aaron's rank is beyond me, honestly, but if he enjoys being a UPS employee more than a samurai ninja, live and let be, I suppose.
My number 1, God of War.
You will always be a monster.
I know.
Despite Ty's attempts to make his picks more indie than mine, nearly all of his choices were still published by Sony, so whether they were massive hits or not, they were still backed by AAA money, even if they weren't the mainstream successes my choices were. Just because a game is an entry in an established franchise doesn't mean it can't still meaningfully change what we expected from a beloved character. 2018's God of War completely flipped the script on the angriest protagonist in gaming and recast him as a reserved father trying his best to deal with all the anger still residing inside him just below the surface.
What are you doing? Now his guard is up. Only fire. Only fire when I tell you to fire.
Gameplay-wise, the title didn't reinvent gaming itself, but what makes this one of my favorite games of all time is the dynamic of Kratos and Atreus and their often heartbreaking journey through Norse mythology. God of War 2018 is such an important game for me, my son is even named Atreus Loki, and he's every bit the little trickster god we see in the game.
Father.
No. We do it together. Son.
My number 1, Persona 5. Now, let me clarify, there was no attempt to make my list more indie, which none of my games are really indie to begin with. These are my 5 favorite PS4 games. Personally, I am not one for cinematic experiences. What I do care about, though, Persona 5. Now, I'll admit that I slept on Persona 5 for 2 years after it launched. The hype for this game just seemed very unhinged in my eyes, but in 2019, my need for a JRPG kicked in, and Persona 5 was banging down my door. I spent a month and a half playing only Persona 5, and you want a perfect PS4 game? This was it. Persona 5 has an incredibly deep and satisfying combat system with its baton pass mechanics, various personas and amalgamations of personas, the dating sim aspects with the confidence, the voice acting, occasional animated cutscenes, the writing, the design of the dungeons. I cannot think of a single aspect of this game where I felt my experience was stained. I even went and added a bunch of the music to my Spotify. If you're an RPG fan in even the slightest, most general sense, you absolutely need to play Persona 5. You need to stop what you're doing right now. Actually, go comment, let us know whose list you think is better, then go play Persona 5. And don't come back till you do.
Right on. What's up, Persona? This effing rocks! Now that I got this power, it's time for payback!
Ooh, I touched a nerve. Let us know your top 5 PS4 games down in the comments. Check out these other clips for MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.